welcome David Youngs, newly appointed Cobber men's tennis coach. David, we just interviewed Matt not too long ago together, me and you, and then it was Matt Hokinson. And I kind of said the same thing about him. Like, been friends for the last 8 years. We go way, way back. Super pumped for you for this job because it's my alma mater. We were former teammates. How are you feeling right now?
Well, I feel good, Ike. Thanks for having me on. And I think, what you said just about reflecting on you and I have known each other. We met when I was a senior in high school. Concordia, frankly, wasn't on my radar right away. My dad had gone there, and I knew, hey, great school, but I wanted to get the heck out of Dodge. East Coast, West Coast, anywhere but Fargo-Moorhead. I met you, and I got to learn about what the culture at Concordia was like, and I was like, hey, this is a place where I want to be. You spoke about Matt Hokinson. Similar to you, Matt is somebody I've known since, good golly, probably 14 years old, playing him in tournaments. How awesome is it that we get to be a part of a sport like tennis where not only we got to play against each other and together through high school and college, but now are in a position where it's, we're on the coaching end of it. And so I'm feeling really good, really excited about this opportunity. I've told my folks and some people close to me, it's not often as a new coach that you get to walk into a situation where things are pretty darn good. And Coach Nate Young, who is a good friend of mine and yours, has done an exceptional job with the program the last couple of years. And just with a great group of guys. I'm a firm believer that great programs are made by great players and great people. That's what we've got with Cobber men's tennis right now. And so just excited to be here and excited for the future in this next chapter of Cobber men's tennis.
Yeah, let's go. I believe we kind of talked about this before, and we might have to release this at a different date. We are currently talking, it's July 9th. Have you officially received the position yet, or are we going to have to delay this? And the people will then watch this. We're almost in the future, or is this official right now?
So it is official. I start my position on July 15th, which is next Monday. That's just contractual. But yeah, I've received the offer. I've accepted. It's going to become public this week, the week of July 9th, or July 8th, I guess, if you're counting a Monday. My guy, Jim Sella, who is my former employer and a good friend of mine, our sports. Sorry, I got something caught in my throat. You can cut that. I'll start that over. Yeah, so it is official. My role begins July 15th, which is next Monday. It's one of those things where it's the summer. Jim Sella, sports information director, best in the MIAC, in my opinion. Cobber Sid, as he's well known, reached out. He's putting it out this week. I've reached out to the guys on the team and our recruits coming in. And it's a reality. But it's one of those things where, we start our season in just a couple of months. And while, yes, there is some time until we actually start, the work begins now. It's, I met with, Cobber women's coach Jenna Forknell tonight. We had a great conversation about, I'm in charge of the men's program. She's in charge of women's. We work hand in hand. And it's one of those things where we want to, not only communicate really well with each other, but also continue to build that culture between the men's and women's program, because it's really important. It's very different than high school tennis where, in some states it's boys in the fall, girls in the spring, or vice versa. No, we're playing at the same time, as you know. And it's that's a lot of road trips together. That's a lot of meals at Culver's together. That camaraderie is really important. We've already got a really good start there, and looking forward to continuing that.
Obviously, I know you because we've been doing our podcast for almost 2.5 years together, been just grinding through it. Good
It's been
friends.
that long, 2.5 years. Oh my goodness.
We our friends always hanging out, have hung out pretty consistently since we kind of met each other. So I know you probably on a little bit of a deeper level than, maybe the audience members. So I know kind of the skills and attributes that you're going to add to the Cobber men's tennis team. But what do you think you are going to focus on? What do you think you're going to bring to this team?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, Ike. I think that when I look at myself, I was somebody where I was a fine high school tennis player. Went the Division III route because I knew that I could not only continue the sport that I love, but at a world class institution. And I think that I also saw the beautiful side of Division III tennis and just college tennis in general. I also saw the really tough parts of it. Um, Tennis, I one of my previous jobs, my most previous full time job was at a sports psychology company, and I had a good friend named Dr. Adam Gollenberg, worked with UFC fighters, and he said uh, boxing is the most mentally tough sport in the world. After that are tennis and golf. Andre Agassi, in his autobiography Open, says tennis is the loneliest sport in the world. Um, you know, even though you are competing against your opponent, you are so far apart from each other. Even in track and field, where it's an individual sport, you're in close proximity. And so I've seen that, I've experienced that, and I think because of my experiences, I'm able to essentially uh, be somebody who knows what that's like in the highs, in the lows, in the plateaus. But in addition to that, on a more tactical level, college tennis is doubles, especially at the Division III level. We know that in Division I and Division II, doubles just worth 1 point. Division III, thankfully, is still 3 points. Um, Doubles was my strength in college. I think you would echo that, Isaac.
Yeah,
And a lot of that was because of playing with you. There aren't a whole lot of guys in the MIAC or in Division III who have a kick serve as strong as this guy does. But really capitalizing on that. But first and foremost, tennis and sport is a microcosm of life. I'm a firm believer of that. Tennis is something that has brought me a lot of great relationships and people in my life, but also it's taught me a lot of life lessons. Character. How do you respond in moments of adversity? How do you develop that skill of resilience? Um, how do your true colors show when things aren't going so hot? And that's something that we all like to say that we know how to do. It's a lot tougher in the moment. I think you would agree, and I think most college athletes would. And so Concordia is the perfect place because it's not only an institution that instills that value in all of its students, but being a college athlete is one of those things that you get to truly live them out and experience them while continuing something that you love. And I would just finish it with this: like, there aren't many sports where you can play that sport for a lifetime. Tennis, running, cross country, I guess you could call it, golf. Tennis is one of those sports where you can continue it, but also for the guys that we have on our team right now, yes, they can absolutely play USTA League, all sorts of things down the road. Um, this is kind of their final time in a true team setting where it is truly synchronized and organized. Because of that, this creates such a great opportunity to utilize those skills that they learned from high school to essentially, bring what they have to the table to our program and continue to grow.
yeah. Is there uh, is, is there a specific thing that you're going to try to promote about Concordia that you think, hey, I'm recruiting this specific person. How can I get them to Concordia? What are you doing?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. And I think my answer to that would be, we want individuals who will be great fits at Concordia, who also are excellent tennis players. Concordia is a school where, we always talked about jokingly becoming responsibly engaged in the world. But in all reality, that's not a joke. Brew is not a joke. It's something that's really important. Critical thinking, experiential learning. We want that in our student athletes, and I definitely want that on individuals of our team. Uh, I would rather have somebody who lives out the values of our institution, who would maybe play 3 or 4, than somebody would play higher and maybe doesn't necessarily fit that mold. And so at the same time, um, I think there is always opportunity for growth. Uh, One of the beautiful things about college is, they are it's 4 of the most transformational years of your life. And so you and I both had teammates who, if you look at them their first year, you look at them their senior year, completely different individuals. And that's a beautiful thing because I think every time that we saw that it was for the better. Um, there are going to be hiccups. There are going to be bumps in the road for our student athletes, for myself, for my staff. But we're in this journey together, and it's really important to have individuals who have that growth mindset, that recognition that, hey, it's important to focus on what's going well, also hone in on what's worth improving. But at the end of the day, what's fulfilling? What are we having fun with? Because at the end of the day, as you know, Isaac, when you're having fun, when you're playing loose, you're playing your best tennis.
Yeah, facts. You mentioned support and you mentioned your staff. Your first hire on your Cobber men's tennis team was assistant coach, your dad, David Youngs. What was the decision-making process in hiring your dad?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Nepotism, obviously. Or no, nepotism is when a younger person gets hired because of you. What is it? What is the opposite of that? Is that opportunism?
Nepotism? I don't know.
But no, in all sincerity, when I look at my upbringing through tennis, I've played tennis since the age of 5, been around tennis for a long, long time, for a 26-year-old. And I, not to get emotional, I'm not going to cry because big girls don't cry, as Fergie once said. I would say this, um, when I thought about who'd be a great fit, uh, my dad, first of all, has a good relationship with a number of guys on the team. He has been a volunteer assistant for Cobber Tennis before, and also is one of the winningest high school tennis coaches in North Dakota history. North Dakota high school tennis history, I should say. Um, it's one of those things where, again, going back to tennis is a microcosm of life. Um, One of the things that I valued with my dad growing up, watching him coach, whether it was going with him when I was in 5th grade to the state tournament and watching him coach players like Parker Lawley, like Ryan McGuigan, who both went on to play Division I tennis, or whether it was watching him play my high school doubles partner, or coach my high school doubles partner, Davis Lawley, who went on to become an all conference Division I player. Um, Absolutely, the tactical stuff matters. It really does. But the character, the mental side of the sport is most important in a match. And nobody embodies that more than Victor Youngs. He's somebody that I deeply love, obviously, but he's also somebody who recognizes that, hey, we want to develop these guys as student athletes, but first and foremost, and the best way to get to developing them on the court is developing them as young men. Um, and so that was something where, once I knew that this was going to potentially be an opportunity, he was the first person that came to mind. Uh, and yeah, it's one of the it's going to be unique. I've been an assistant coach for him at the high school level for 3 seasons. We had the chance to coach 2 state championship teams, and I got to learn a lot from him. But we've talked about it pretty candidly, and he's certainly what he's going to hear from me isn't going to be that different than what he would coach or tell to me. But very excited for that opportunity.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Is there anyone else you're trying to bring on to your staff?
I'll leave that uh, up in the air for now. I know there's a guy who lives in North Moorhead who is perhaps one of the best players in program history, both singles wise, doubles wise. He may have had a little bit of help. His volleys got better his junior year. I don't know who kind of helped him with that, but also as somebody who knows the game of tennis extremely well, both the physical and the mental side, who we'll have some conversations with.
Who are you referring to? Matt Eden?
Matt Eden, we'd love your support of the program. I actually ran into Matt Eden last year, 5-0 league at St. Louis Park High School. Matt Hokinson's team was playing a team, and it was saw Matt Eden. I came out to watch, and I was like, Matt Eden, product of Staples Motley, incredible player. Sister was also a great player.
Yeah. Um, and you mentioned the mental side of tennis, and some of the battles that you've overcame in the past have been mental battles with the
Yeah.
sport. What are some of the tactics going into the role to support your players besides just having an experience in it? Obviously, like you're gonna be able to talk with them. Is there any like extra stuff that you plan on doing with the team to like support that mental side of tennis?
Yeah, absolutely. Day one this fall, book study, inner game of tennis. Uh, Perhaps not actual book study, but also it is really important. And I think the guys on our team right now know that tennis is just as mental as it is physical, and I would argue more. And I think they would agree with that. Um, it's one of those things where I would love to incorporate with our guys mental training, and that may require utilizing external resources or internal. Concordia Athletics has been great with acknowledging that and saying, "Hey, that's really important. We agree with that." And at the end of the day, whether it be college athletics, high school, pro, um, if you can find ways to get 1% better each day, or whatever percentage it may be, that's a win at the end of the day, especially when they help develop life skills too. And so, yeah, things like mindfulness. Ike, I'm sure that you're familiar with JJ McCarthy, Vikings quarterback, former Michigan quarterback. What did he do before every single game at Michigan?
I don't know. He got grounded, right? I just learned about this. He like
He
took off his.
meditated. He meditated.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. But didn't he do it without his shoes on? He just did it bare feet, so
Yep,
he'd like be.
he did. He did. And I'm not saying that, I'm going to require our team to, hey guys, let's sit down at Courts Plus across the baseline on court 7 and meditate. But it's different for every individual, and finding ways for them to be centered, but also be in the present moment. You and I both know any tennis player is going to play their best when they are playing to win, not afraid to lose. When they are playing loose, not playing tight. When they are playing without the fear of expectations and playing for the love of the game. And as easy as it is to say, it's easier said than done. Um, for some players it comes easier than others. For me, it was something where it was very tough. I would go out and play a practice match against somebody that I had no business beating, and I would do quite well because there were no expectations, no pressure. I would play a match that counted, whether it was USTA, whether it was college, uh, and I, for lack of a better term, would get hit by a truck because I really was just so nervous about that result. At the end of the day, there are four things that you can control on the tennis court. That is footwork, attitude, focus, and effort. And if our guys really focus on those things, and I'm not just going to drill that into them every single practice, but
Wait,
I'm going to
where'd you get? Wait. Where'd you get that from? Like you just pulled that out.
that would be from one of actually my favorite coach and one of my biggest mentors, Oliver Summers.
Hmm.
Um, Footwork, you can always control your footwork. You can control your attitude. You can control your focus and your effort. And I would say that focus is probably, they're all very, very, very important. Focus is very important because there are so many latitudes and longitudes throughout the course of a tennis match and in tennis practice. Um, Whether it is like, wow, like I'm warming up right now in practice doing dynamics and I'm sore. What are you focusing on? Wow, I'm up 5-4, up a break, and I'm serving. What am I focusing on?
Mhm.
And through that, I've been lucky enough to work, like I said earlier, at a sports psychology company, working with some of the best sports psychologists in the nations. I was not a sports psychologist myself. I was the marketing communications guy, but sometimes I felt like a psychologist because I got to work with some incredibly talented and kind of individuals. And there was one individual who used the acronym WIN. What's important now? And so honing that into our guys is critical. What's important now when you're down 1-5 and you've had a really rough set this far. Hey, I'm gonna get this first serve in, or not even that, but I'm gonna have a great toss here. I'm gonna bend my knees, keep my left arm up. I'm up 5-1 in the second set, serving for the match. What's important now? Treating that game just like, you would that first game of the match when you're serving.
Yeah. And yeah, I just feel like that mental side is super important for every athlete. And as I've almost mentally matured a little bit more in my tennis thought process and what I view tennis is as whatnot, I feel like having those thoughts a little bit earlier and those, I mean, hopefully premeditated meditative tasks that you might create for your team, like reading the inner game of tennis, those sorts of things will almost like quicken the process and like understanding how to like act on the court, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And those little things, like, you say acting on the court. Um, in the moment as players, we may not realize how important that is, but it is. Things like body language, things like, you hear Federer talk about his 15-second rule about moving on to the next point. Those little things that you don't think matter in the moment, like I can recall so many times, and I would honestly say most of my matches as a junior player, I lose a point. I'm like, darn it, I lost that point. Like, let's win the next one. But I don't fully move on. It's still in the back of your mind. Um, Being able to truly move on comes from habit. We're creatures of habit, especially us stubborn tennis players. Um, and so it is so critical, especially when you look at our team this past year. Uh, we were in a lot of really close matches, and some of those things can really help us, I think, get over the hump.
Who are so when you're reaching out to your team, you're reaching out to guys like Logan Sandberg, who's your number one singles, Kai Pierce, who I believe was number two singles, Isaac Maddock, Kai Kringley, all these guys. Who are the incoming freshmen, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so we've got two. We've got a young gentleman from Fargo Shanley. Santi, his name is, and have not had the chance to meet him yet, but heard he's a wonderful young man. Uh, we always love, I like to say that the best way to recruit is to win in your own backyard before you win anywhere else, as Jimmy Connors once said. So we're thrilled to have him on the team. He's got some copper blood in his family, which is wonderful. And then a wonderful young man named Andrew, or Andy, from St. Paul. So really excited to bring both those guys in. It's one of those things where, as as a new coach, I can recall when I was a first year student at Concordia, you never know what to expect. I think you have those preconceived notions, and maybe I did more than others just because I was from this area. I knew who was on the team prior. I knew you. I knew David Schneck, Matthew Angham, etc. Um, but it's one of those things where, regardless of where a guy played last year, um, you know, as much of a college football coach as I'm going to sound like, you got to earn your spot. But also, I really want to make clear to our guys that whether you're playing number one singles, number three doubles, or whether you're one of our exhibition guys, you play an integral part to this team. Tennis is a sport that is often perceived as an individual sport, and it absolutely is. But it is truly a team sport in the college setting because culture is everything. You look at when it comes to close matches. We talked about that 1% earlier. Team culture can help bump up that 1%. Um, and so, I mean, everybody matters. Everybody counts. Wherever you're coming from in life, we want to have you.
Yeah, and you mentioned Santi, who is the son of Lisa Toomey, who is a
Yes.
Spanish professor at Concordia, who I have worked with in recent years just with my personal job. And yeah, she's been a longtime professor over at Concordia. And yeah, that's she. So Santi must be getting that nice Concordia discount. Speaking of discounts, will you be now, because you're an employee of Concordia, are you going to be able to get those discounts?
I think they give me maybe a couple quarters off in DS. I got a fair number of parking tickets back in my day, in the DS lot, the Knudsen lot. So maybe they'll relieve those. But no, I will say this: just really thankful for Rachel Bergeson, Cobra Athletic Director, and Ben Schneeweiss, Associate Athletic Director, for the support that they provided, but also Nate Young, former coach who I'm taking over for. Nate laid the foundation for this crew, and I want our guys to know anytime that there's a coaching change, I understand that there's a shock factor that we've got the guy could have the same coaching perspective, but it's a different person. Um, but that I'm a lifelong learner, just like the guys on our team are. Uh, I want to hear feedback. Absolutely, there are going to be things that I bring in that are going to be similar. There's going to be things that are different. But I can't be at my best if guys aren't able to share feedback. And so therefore, I'm going to create an environment where, we're going to be able to have dialogue. It's really important, especially I think one of the unique things about college tennis, Isaac, and you probably would echo this, is that, in high school, as a student athlete, your coach is typically, I don't want to say quite a bit older, but a very different stage in life. I understand that I'm a young coach. I'm 26 years old. Heck, like, yes, I may have a bald spot up here, but I remember, it was just 4 years ago that I was at Concordia. And so absolutely there's that different space, but at the same time, I know what these guys are going through. And I want to be there as a resource, both on and off the court.
Did Concordia, did Concordia reach out to you in regards to this job, or did you seek it out? Like, how did that go?
Yeah, I would say it was absolutely something that I really wanted to do. Luckily enough, this past year I was able to help out Coach Young as a volunteer assistant. And when he let me know that, and Nate, by the way, is somebody who, like I've said previously in this conversation, incredible coach for the Cobbers. But Nate's a really talented guy. Not to say that his talents wouldn't fit this role, but he's got a lot of passions. And he's also somebody, just like all of us, where he has a life. He wants to, live that life. His passion for photography as one of the best, if not the best photographers in Fargo-Moorhead. And so when I became aware of the position, had a conversation with folks at, in the Cobra Athletic Department and said, hey, I'm really interested. And that led to an interview and was just really pleased with my experience with the athletic department and the hiring process, and thankful that they can move so swiftly as well. I think we both probably had jobs where you apply for a job, it takes, it seems like almost, months upon months, and it's like, okay, like I've got a life to live, I've got stuff to plan. You don't hear anything. That was not the case with Rachel Bergeson and Ben Schneeweiss and Lisa Wagers. So really, really appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't get over the fact that you're kind of taking this position just because I went to school there, you went to school there. I feel like Concordia tennis hasn't lived up to its full potential quite yet, and I think it has a long ways to go. And I feel like you're the right guy. And I'm not saying Nate and Zach and Murray and Futchko before him, like all these other guys who have kind of come in and now gone. I'm not saying they weren't good building blocks to essentially prime this moment, but I don't know. I just feel like this is a good spot for the program to be in with the current players, you taking over as a coach, and your investment kind of in the area and what you know about the area. Where do you see Concordia going? Like, where do you see the program, the tennis program going?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. Really appreciate the kind words. And I'd say I've been really grateful to see this program grow. I think that growth is something that is not linear and it's not outcome based. Yes, we have had ups and downs in the last decade of this program, But I'd say this. There are two ways that I look at that question, Isaac. I think first and foremost, we want to develop outstanding young men to positively influence the affairs of the world. And I know that sounds cheesy because that's part of the Concordia mission statement, but it is so important. And I think that directly translates to the tennis court. Uh, Outcome wise, absolutely, we want to compete. We want to compete every year. Um, and More on that process wise, uh, we want our guys to know that, hey, you belong. You belong here, both as members of this team, but as members of this conference. And that's something that I think we've got a really young team right now. We've got Sean Martin, who is our super senior, who's been a great leader on the team. In addition to Sean, we've got juniors and sophomores and 2 incoming first years. So it's really exciting. We've got a young team. When you look at the conference, there's a number of high quality programs that are losing guys. So it's one of those things where we're going to have an excellent opportunity this year to do some damage. But I think when I look at it, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't just want us to be a team. I want us to be a program. I want us to be a program where there's a culture of excellence, a culture of excellence on the court with not only how we compete on the, those things we can control, but also how we support our teammates, how we support the women's program, how we support our institution, and how we support the greater Fargo-Moorhead tennis community, which is awesome. It's one of those things where, Isaac, when I chose to go to Concordia, Concordia tennis was not necessarily an integral part of the Fargo-Moorhead tennis community. Through the works of Coach Fuchko and Troy prior to that, but Coach Murray, Coach Zitter, Coach Young, it's become that. I want to foster that and continue that and only grow it. But it's really cool. We are the only men's tennis program collegiately in Fargo-Moorhead, West Fargo. And frankly, the closest one is in Collegeville, our good friends at St. John. And so we've got a unique opportunity for recruiting, for the growth of the program, for fundraising. And, if you're somebody watching this and you're interested in Cobber tennis, want to learn more about the guys on the team, I'd love to chat with you more because not only do we have some excellent tennis players, some outstanding individuals.
Yeah. What's on when you start on the 15th? What's your day one task? What are you doing?
Day one task? Check the bank account. No, I'm just kidding. No, so thus far, so I'll actually be, we talk about how once a cobber, always a cobber. So it's funny enough that the first part of that week, I'll actually be in beautiful Wisconsin Dells, the Vegas of the Midwest, they call it, celebrating the marriage of Eric Porter, former Cobber teammate, roommate, one of my best friends. And so I'll be meeting with staff, but also I've already contacted all the guys, just letting them know, hey, really excited to work with you. We'll get a team meeting where I talk about things like expectations, but also learning from them. Like I said earlier, we're all lifelong learners. And I think as a modern day coach, you have to recognize that every student athlete performs best through different approaches. I know that from our experience together as teammates, where some guys perform better when they're coached more directly, others through more, you could say, I don't want to say indirectly, but more of a looser approach. And so it's my job as a coach to relate to our players, and that's everything to me. I'm not going to coach every single guy the same way because I don't care if it's a team of 5, a team of 15, a team of 50. Everybody has different preferences, and some players will curl up in a ball with one approach, others will absolutely thrive. And if I'm not able to adapt and relate to our players, I'm not doing my job to the best of its ability. But then one-on-ones too. I want to learn from our student athletes, what their goals are, what they think they did well last year, what's worth improving, but also about them as human beings. This experience, like we talked about earlier, in college tennis is unique. It's the last time in their lives that they're truly going to get to play on a competitive team in a, very, I would say inspired and competitive setting. I say competitive twice there, but what they like to do outside of cover tennis. Are they involved in extracurriculars like music, like student government, debate, whatever it may be? Because that's one of the beautiful things about Concordia College is that you know in the past we've had teammates who are involved in tennis, but also music. We've got folks who are involved in debate. We've got folks who are involved in the pageant on campus, which is awesome. And I want to celebrate that. I want guys on our team who not only want to make tennis a big part of their college experience, but also explore all the wonderful things that Concordia College has to offer.
You mentioned pageant.
Yes.
Like,
I may have been talking about myself there.
oh, what pageant? I'm genuinely curious. I don't know what a pageant.
That would be Mr. Concordia.
Ah, okay. Is that during homecoming week?
No, it's in the spring, I believe, if I recall.
What is that?
It's a great thing run by Concordia's lone sorority. I believe it's Lambda Paeta. Was that correct?
Dude, you're speaking a completely different language to
But
me. So I'm literally learning.
great organization. And essentially a pageant for people of all identifying identities to support the YWCA through a pageant. And so when I did it, that must have been my junior year.
Is this a drag show? Like, or what do you mean by
No,
pageant?
no, do you not remember this, dude?
No, dude, I don't know what this is.
So
I've heard the name Mr. Concordia. Is that what they say? Mr.
yeah,
Concordia?
so it's called MX Concordia now to be more inclusive. So
Jeez, what is this? Like, what is it though? Like, you're just saying a pageant. Like, what does that mean?
okay, yeah, maybe you could take this shit out, but I'll tell you.
No, like, just say it on camera. I feel like the audience wants to know what it is too.
Yeah, but also my boss is gonna hear this, Isaac.
It's something put on by Concordia, no?
Yeah, it is. It's awesome.
What is it then?
So it's a pageant like you've seen Miss America, right?
Yeah.
So there are 3 rounds. The first is like a talent round, the second is musical, the third is like a questionnaire. And so for my talent round, I did doing the bird box challenge while doing the straight arm challenge. Do you know that? Do you remember what that is? Like Bird Box, you remember that movie?
Yeah, that's where they couldn't like look or something. They had to
Blindfold.
be
Yep.
blind.
Sandra Bullock. Kind of a sinister movie, but good nonetheless. Um, and then the straight arm challenge is where you drink a beverage, straight arm. And so I did like a combination of that and like Jimmy Fallon, like mean quotes or mean tweets or whatever. Where it was like people saying like David, like blah blah blah, like you can't do this roast to Concordia, and then it was Sandra Bullock saying like, "Hey David, like I hear you're a complete simp. Like I bet you can't do the bird box challenge while straight arm challenging with 3 LaCroix because I hate LaCroix in 60 seconds." And the first 2 quotes, one was from Brandon Zylstra, one was from Jimmy Fallon, like, and then another Cobra alumni. I can't remember who, but then I did and just basically poured LaCroix on my head blindfolded. And then the
So,
second
okay, yeah.
for the music challenge, it was you remember the Lacey Scranton episode of The Office, right? Where they rap.
I think so.
Where Dwight's like sitting in my office with a plate of grilled bacon, so I call my man or Dwight just to see what was shaking. Hey, Mike, our town is dope and pretty.
Yeah.
Let's show him how we do in the Electric City. So Noah Johnson and I, my dear friend, yep, Scranton, what the Electric City, yep, yeah. So we did. I rewrote the lyrics to Concordia. Like sitting in my dorm with a plate of grilled bacon, so I called my girl Sue just to see what was shaking.
Is Sue still there?
No, she's retired now.
Dang. Right.
But that, and then like for the Q&A part, like there were like 7 contestants, and they're all from different like student orgs or sports teams. So it was like us, it was like Concordia Choir, it was all these different organizations. For the Q&A, a lot of them were funny. I got the only serious one, which was, would you rather like solve world hunger or world peace? Um, and I was the first person too, so I was like, damn, like this is a really tough question. And so I went with world peace because I said with peace comes hunger. It's not an overnight fix, um, and etc. And yeah, I won.
Dang. I feel like I would do yeah, peace. Yeah. That's a no-brainer. That's an easy question. What?
Sorry, just reading a text.
Dude, what?
I said
All right.
sorry. Eric
What
Porter texted me.
yeah, I don't know. What is there anything else you want to talk about your position? I feel like we could probably wrap it up here.
Yeah, I would just say, it's as I reflect, like I'm really excited. This is a new opportunity for me, um, and I think I'm somebody who's equipped to do the job. But because of the people who have been around me in my personal life and the world of tennis, people like Oliver Summers, people like my father, people like Jason Thiner, people like you, Isaac, Davis Lawley. Um, I've really, really been blessed. People like Greg Wickland. Um, I've been really lucky to have been introduced to a lot of wonderful tennis players, but most importantly, people through the game of tennis. Um, and it's one of those things where, as I embark on this mission, it's not an I thing; it's a we thing, which I know sounds cliche. It sounds like a traditional NFL locker room, but it is a total team effort. Like I mentioned earlier, uh, there's not a hierarchy on this team. Uh, whether you're one, whether you're six, whether you're exhibition, you're valued. You're meant to be here, um, and so thrilled to be a part of this journey for these gentlemen as they get a world class education at Concordia College and get the opportunity to continue a sport that they love.
Yeah. Yeah. Dave, I really enjoyed talking about this new position. I'm super excited to see where Concordia goes. I'm very invested, even more now, as I live in Moorhead, and have been living here for the last 4 years. So yeah, I'm excited for where this program goes. I I want to see some success though. Like I want to put the pressure on you, Dave. Like I
Yeah.
want to see some wins in the win column. Hey, I'm I'm like Alabama. I want to see some championships out there. I'll donate some more money if I see some championships. You'll see some NIL money coming in if we get some good players out there.
Well, I'll talk to our guys. I know we've got a couple guys that really do like Arizona iced tea,
Ooh.
just like a couple of guys did back in the day. So maybe we can get some Copper Tennis tea talks going again. Um, but yeah, as they say, pressure is a privilege. Quote Novak Djokovic. And what an awesome future that we have ahead for Copper Tennis, and excited to have you along on the journey as well. Thank you for
Let's go.
having me.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Yep.